Dr. Dolittle books by Hugh Lofting, condensed and retold for people who have no patience to read. Many years ago, when our grandfathers were young, there lived in the quiet town of Puddleby-on-the-Marsh a peculiar doctor by the name of John Dolittle, M.D. He was a short, round man with a cheerful face, known for his skill in curing human ailments. But unlike other doctors, he had a special fondness for animals. His house was filled with them, rabbits hopping through the hallway, hedgehogs hiding in the garden, white mice sleeping in the piano, and birds flitting about inside. His favorite, though, was Polynesia, a wise old parrot who could speak not just English but many other languages, including those of animals. As time went on, Dr. Dolittle's animal collection grew and grew. He had a cow who wandered through the kitchen, a dog named Jip, a duck called Dab Dab, and even a pig named Gub Gub. The people of the town, however, did not take kindly to the way the doctor's house was overrun with animals. His human patience began to dwindle, unwilling to sit in chairs already occupied by cats, or to wait while birds perched on his shoulder during their appointments. Eventually, even the wealthy patients stopped coming. Dr. Dolittle's practice suffered and he found himself running out of money. It was during this difficult time that Polynesia, clever as she was, had an idea. One evening, while Dr. Dolittle sat by the fire looking forlorn, she turned to him and said, "You should stop treating people, doctor, and become an animal doctor instead. You already know how to make them feel better and you love them far more than humans. You could be the greatest animal doctor in the world." And so, Polynesia began teaching Dr. Dolittle the languages of animals. She showed him how to talk to birds, how to understand the barking of dogs, and how to interpret the gestures and sounds of all creatures. Soon enough, Dr. Dolittle found that he could converse with any animal that came to him. His house was now filled not only with animals but with their chatter too. Word quickly spread among the creatures of the countryside that Dr. Dolittle could speak to animals and heal them. Dogs with sore paws, horses with aching legs, and even birds with broken wings came to him for help. The animals adored him and he became their favorite doctor. But despite this success, the doctor's financial troubles didn't improve much. His human patients had deserted him and animals, though grateful, had no money to pay. Then one day a message arrived from Africa. It was from a monkey named Chi-Chi, who had heard of Dr. Dolittle's skills. The monkeys in Africa were suffering from a terrible sickness that no one could cure. They were in desperate need of help. The doctor knew he had to go, though he didn't have enough money for the journey. But his animal friends, determined to help him, made sure that he gathered all the supplies he needed. Polynesia, Jip, Dab Dab, Gub Gub, Tutu the owl, and Chi-Chi the monkey all insisted on coming along, and soon they were on their way. The little group sailed across the ocean in a small boat, encountering all sorts of adventures along the way. One stormy night they were nearly captured by Barbary pirates, but with the help of Jip's keen nose and Polynesia's clever tricks, they escaped and continued on their voyage. At last they reached the shores of Africa, but their troubles weren't over yet. As soon as they stepped onto dry land, they were captured by the king of Jolliginki, who didn't like strangers, especially white men like Dr. Dolittle. The king didn't trust him, and so Dr. Dolittle and his animals were thrown into prison. It seemed like all hope was lost, but once again, Polynesia saved the day. Using her ability to speak several human languages, she convinced the guards that she was Dr. Dolittle's assistant, a magical creature who could grant them anything they wished. Awed by this talking human, the guards released the doctor and his companions. Free at last, they continued their journey into the heart of the jungle, where the sick monkeys were waiting for them. It was a long and difficult trip through the dense forest, but Dr. Dolittle was determined to reach the monkeys in time. When they finally arrived, he found the monkeys in a dreadful state. They were weak, feverish, and barely able to stand. The sight broke Dr. Dolittle's heart, and he vowed to save them. He set to work immediately, using all the medical knowledge he had. Day and night he tended to the monkeys, mixing medicines, cleaning wounds, and nursing them back to health. It was hard work, but slowly the monkeys began to recover. Chi-Chi stayed by his side, helping him whenever he could, and the other animals fetched water and food for the doctor as he worked. Eventually the epidemic was cured, and the monkeys were once again full of life and energy. In their gratitude, the monkeys offered to make Dr. Dolittle their king, but he kindly refused, telling them that he had to return to England. Though sad to see him go, the monkeys showered him with gifts, rare fruits, beautiful feathers, and even a special necklace made of pearls. They promised that Dr. Dolittle would always be welcome in their jungle. With the monkeys healthy and happy again, Dr. Dolittle and his friends began their journey home, but their adventures weren't over just yet. On the way back to the coast, they encountered a strange sight, a floating island. The island was covered with trees and flowers, and it drifted gently on the sea. Curious, they landed on the island and explored it, only to discover that it was home to a giant sea creature, a great glass sea snail. The sea snail was a magnificent creature, ancient and wise. It told Dr. Dolittle that it had been wandering the oceans for centuries, searching for a place to call home. The doctor and the sea snail became fast friends, and the snail offered to help them get back to England safely. With the sea snail's help, they avoided storms, pirates, and dangerous waters, arriving back in Puddleby-on-the-Marsh without further incident. When Dr. Dolittle returned home, he found that his fame had spread far and wide. People from all over the world had heard of the doctor who could talk to animals, and they sent their pets to him for care. The doctor's house was soon full once again, with creatures of all shapes and sizes coming to him for help. Even though he had no human patients left, he didn't mind. He was happy with his animal friends, and they adored him. As the years went by, Dr. Dolittle continued to care for animals and learn their languages. He traveled the world, making new animal friends and having even more adventures, but no matter where he went or what he did, he always remembered the monkeys in Africa and the great adventure they shared. And so, Dr. Dolittle lived happily ever after, surrounded by his beloved animals, knowing that he had done a great thing by helping those in need. If you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button to be a part of Quick Reads for people with no patience, and see the description below to find out how you can get the original classic. Who knows, we might have piqued your interest.